Shayla, hey girl, hey. Oh, shoot. My water bottle. Isaiah, can you go get my water bottle off my nightstand, please? Top of the day, beautiful people. Hey girls, hey, Lavine, Shayla, Tiffany, Uncle Nathaniel. Greetings. Left my water bottle. I grabbed it, then I set it back down to get something else, and came downstairs without it. Anyway, peace and blessings, Oh, wait, never mind. I just felt my hand. I guess I didn't feel good enough. Hold on. Okay, never mind, Isaiah. I got it. I guess I did bring it down. Okay. Benita Trina, hey girl, hey, Betwabu. Guys, we are in Deuteronomy 38 today. All right, y'all, it is Saturday. I hope y'all enjoyed your day of rest. I literally slept. I tried to sleep the whole day. I really did. It was so peaceful. And today is Saturday. It's like I got a 3-day weekend, but I don't really, because I'm going to be working today. So, but anywho, I hope y'all enjoyed your day of rest yesterday. Got some good sleep. A few naps in if you could. All right, y'all, but it is Saturday, February 27, 2021, day 88 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets and of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 757. Thank you, Shayla. I did update. I fixed the date. It was 2 days that was off. So y'all, if y'all look at the dates, let us sister know. I try to double check my dates and stuff because I copy and paste from the previous day, so I don't have to retype everything. And sometimes I forget to change all the numbers. I'm careful. I hope and daily that I'm careful to go through and make sure I check all of the numbers and stuff that I need to change. But sometimes I miss it a couple of days or think I changed it and then go back and double check myself, and I didn't. So thank you, Shayla. And all those who have updated me in the past, says your day's wrong. So, all right, y'all. Today we're reading Deuteronomy 28, 29, and 30. And we're going to jump back into the Legends of the Jews. If you want to prepare your book now, page 348, where we left off on Thursday. So let's go ahead and get into it, y'all. I love this chapter. I love all the chapters. Okay. Blessings for obedience. And a lot of time we don't really hear this chapter being taught in a church unless it's regarding giving money, right? And it's almost like, or at least from my experience in the different churches I've been to all my life and hearing Deuteronomy 28. Like anytime you hear Deuteronomy 28, you think about, oh, better give your tithes and offerings so they go get on you. But now that I understood this chapter, I'm just like, hold on. What? Okay, so let's get into it, y'all. All y'all here should probably know already, but we'll chat about it just a little bit. And I think I'll share today, definitely going to share a few videos. All y'all might know, but I'm going to share some videos anyway. But okay, listen. If you fully, oh, wait, what am I doing? We ain't do the shimmer. Hold on. I caught myself. Hold on. Shimmer. Ain't it, Tiffany? Tiffany said Deuteronomy 28 is powerful. Okay, y'all, I'm sorry. I'm glad I caught myself. Look, when we first started doing the shimmer, y'all had to remind me, shimmer. Now it's like, as soon as I started reading, when I said if, it was like, I heard it resound through my soul like a loud voice, shimmer. I'm like, this, I was like, oh. Okay, y'all, shimmer. Deuteronomy chapter 6, starting at verse 3. Hear, therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily, as Yahuwah, the God of our fathers, has promised us in the land that flows with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, Yahuwah, our God, He is one God, and you shall love Yahuwah your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart, and you shall teach them diligently unto your children. And you shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them on the posts of your house and on your gates. And Yahuwah command us to do all these statutes, to fear Yahuwah our God for our good always, that he might preserve us alive as it is this day. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before Yahuwah our God as he has commanded us. All right, y'all. And I think it's that if that caught me, because this started off, Deuteronomy 28 started off if, and I said it the same way, which triggered the shimmer in my soul. If, blessed be the most holy. Okay, now let's go ahead back into Deuteronomy 28. All right, blessings for obedience. If you fully obey Yahuwah your God and carefully keep all his commands that I'm giving you today, Yahuwah your God will set you above high. He will set you on high above all the nations of the world. You will experience all the blessings if you obey Yahuwah your God. Your towns and your fields will be blessed. Your children and your crops will be blessed. Your offspring, the offspring of your herds and flocks will be blessed. Your fruit baskets and bread boards will be blessed. Wherever you go, whatever you do will be blessed. Yahuwah will conquer your enemies when they attack you. They will attack you from one direction, but they will scatter from you in seven. Yahuwah will guarantee a blessing on everything you do and will fill your storehouses with grain. Yahuwah your God will bless you in the land he is giving you. If you obey the commands, Yahuwah your God, and walk in his ways, Yahuwah will establish you as his holy people, as he swore he would do. Then all the nations of the world will see that you are a people claimed by Yahuwah, and they will stand in awe of you. Yahuwah will give you prosperity in the land he swore to your ancestors to give you, blessings with many children, numerous livestock, and abundant crops. Yahuwah will send rain at the proper time from his rich treasury in the heavens and will bless all the work you do. You will lend to many nations, but you will never need to borrow from them. If you listen to these commands of Yahuwah your God that I'm giving you today, and if you carefully obey them, Yahuwah will make you the head and not the tail, and you will always be on top and never at the bottom. You must not turn away from any of the commands I'm giving you today, nor follow after other gods and worship them. But we're about to get into the curses. Hey there, hey. I can't see who that is. Jonathan, how you doing, man? Okay, I couldn't see it. I got my phone covering up the name, so I can't see who come in on YouTube. All right. The curses for disobedience. But if you refuse to listen to Yahuwah your God and not obey all the commands and decrees I am giving you today, all these curses will come and overwhelm you. Your towns and your fields will be cursed. Your fruit baskets and bread boards will be cursed. Your children and your crops will be cursed. The offspring of your herds and flocks will be cursed. Wherever you go and whatever you do will be cursed. Yahuwah himself will send curses, will send on you curses. Remember, Yahuwah himself, because remember, we went into captivity. Why? Because we turned away from doing everything he has commanded us to do, right? Okay, listen, I remember when this is being given, they have just come out of Egypt and they're in the wilderness area, right? Okay, just keep that in mind. A lot of y'all know, but some of you don't. Yahuwah himself will send on you curses, confusion, and frustration in everything you do until at last you are completely destroyed for doing evil and abandoning me. Yahuwah will afflict you with disease until none of you are left in the land you are about to enter and occupy. Yahuwah will strike you with wasting diseases, fever and inflammation, with scorching heat and drought, and with blight and with mildew. These disasters will pursue you until you die. The skies above you will be unyielding as bronze, and the earth beneath will be as hard as iron. Now, before I read any more, let everybody just get in the same mindset. First of all, we know who the people are. We know the offspring of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The descendants of Jacob, or the descendants of Israel, is us, the Negro folk, right? Not all Negroes are Hebrews, but Hebrews are Negroes. Remember that, right? They've changed our name constantly throughout the different times and stuff to further hide who we are. So let's just all realize now that we are talking about this particular group of people. And while we're reading this, let's look at the plight of the Negroes all across the world where we have been scattered. Nobody else fit these curses except for us. So listen to all this. Even in our lifetime, what we've experienced, some of us haven't experienced some of the extreme things of the curses because we were coming upon that time of deliverance, but we can still clearly see it in all our people. And if we look back through history, we can clearly tell who these people were. Yahuwah said, it's not because of what they did. It's because of what you did to me. You turned away from me, right? And they just kind of carried out the nations that came and took us, captured our ancestors, and dispersed us throughout the four corners of the earth. They were just carrying out the will of the Most Holy. They were just carrying out the will of Yah because we had turned from him. And he said if we kept everything, that he would keep us. But if we had ever turned away, that he would turn his back on us and he would cause us to be scattered, right? So now while we listening to these diseases and stuff that's going to come on our people, think about our people, just those here in America. Just think about those here, right? I can tell you some things that happened here in Virginia where I live, right? And the different places that I've lived in Illinois for a while, just thinking about, I was like, there is no other people on this earth that these curses fit other than us. Like, and even more so was brought to light even last year when COVID started popping off and the whole Black Lives Matter, all this stuff, although I don't agree with some of the Black Lives Matter stuff and their agenda and who they're run by, nevertheless, the issue about our plight is true. And they just kind of threw in a other bunch of stuff in there with it and it just kind of throws people off. But y'all get what I'm saying? So pay attention, think about us across the world, and then we'll realize. And once we realize that we're the cause for our own destruction, we need to repent and turn back to him, right? Because he said, I'm gonna begin waking them up little by little, here a little, there a little. Every place in the four corners of the earth, we see him waking up his people, right? And we see even more waking up now. We don't wake up to go back to sleep or get over here into these. I hate using the word Hebrew Israelites because the way the word has been used, people have been trained to see the hate brews. I call them the hate brews, or the people call them the alphabet camps, like the guys that's standing on the corner, like UC, IC, and some of the other guys or whatever. No, those brothers, they got stuck in the hate as Yahuwah was waking them up, right? Not all of them, but a lot of them have. So that's why I don't use that term a lot, because when people start going to look them up, that's the first thing that pops up on YouTube. And if you're just waking up, that tends to catch your attention like that's what it is. And it's absolutely not. I think that's another distraction to keep you off, keep you off the road of actually getting back to Yah. So you have to be very, very careful. And you have to make sure everything that the people are telling you are lining up with what Yahuwah himself has said, right? Back to this. Start back at verse 20. Yahuwah himself will say, no, let me go back up here, right here. I'll start at 15 again. But if you refuse to listen to Yahuwah your God and do not obey all the commands and decrees I am giving you today, all these curses will come and overwhelm you. Your towns and your fields will be cursed. Your fruit baskets and breadboards will be cursed. Your children and your crops will be cursed. The offspring of your herds and flocks will be cursed. Wherever you go and whatever you do, you will be cursed. Yahuwah himself will send on you curses, confusion, and frustration in everything you do until at last you are completely destroyed for doing evil and abandoning me. Yahuwah will inflict you with disease until none of you are left in the land you are about to enter and occupy. Yahuwah will strike you with wasting disease, fever, and inflammation, with scorching heat and drought, and with blight and mildew. These disasters will pursue you until you die. The skies above will be unyielding as bronze. The earth beneath will be as hard as iron. Yahuwah will change the rain that falls on your land into powder, and dust will pour down from the sky until you are destroyed. Yahuwah will cause you to be defeated by your enemies. You will attack your enemies from one direction, but you will scatter from them in seven. You will be an object of horror to all the kingdoms of the earth. Your corpses will be food for all the scavenging birds and wild animals, and none will be there to chase them away. Yahuwah will afflict you with the boils of Egypt and tumors, scurvy, and the itch from which you cannot be cured. Yahuwah will strike you with madness, blindness, and panic. You will grope around in broad daylight like a blind person groping in the darkness, but you will not find your way. You will be oppressed and robbed continually, and no one will come to save you. Right? Think about this. Remember, Yahuwah is our kinsman redeemer, right? And he said, ain't nobody coming to save you because he done sold everybody, even the kinsman redeemer among us, into slavery. Everybody going. Ain't nobody coming. No matter how much you holler on a powerless name, even in the recent days, people are still hollering on every other name except for Yahuwah's name himself, right? You will be engaged to a woman, but another man will sleep with her. You will build a house, but someone else will live in it. You will plant a vineyard, but you will never enjoy its fruits. Start thinking about even the slavery here in America with all this stuff. All this is down to the T that was happening. Think about it. Think about it. You will build a house, but someone else will live in it. You will plant a vineyard, but you will never enjoy its fruit. Your ox will be butchered before your eyes, but you will not eat a single bite of the meat. Your donkey will be taken from you, never to be returned. Your sheep and goats will be given to your enemies, and none will be there to help you. You will watch as your sons and daughters are taken away as slaves. Your heart will break for them, but you won't be able to help them. A foreign nation you have never heard about will eat the crops you work so hard to grow. You will suffer under constant oppression and harsh treatment. You will go mad because of all the tragedy you see around you. Yahuwah will cover your knees and legs with incurable boils. In fact, you will be covered from head to foot. Yahuwah will exile you and your king to a nation unknown to you and your ancestors. There in exile, you will worship gods of wood and stone. Think about it. Scattered everywhere. What people worshiping? What people worshiping? Gods of wood and stone, wearing it around their necks as emblems and everything. Yahuwah say, do not make that nary idol. Let it not be in the fashion of a man or animal, anything on earth or anything in the heavens. He said, that's why I did not show you my image when I came among you. Think about it. Think about us humans. We see something, we like, oh, snap. And that becomes your thing. And a lot of times we want to tattoo it on our bodies, get a t-shirts made of it. And it's like we began all of this. Yahuwah said all this. I'm going to keep reading. Yahuwah will exile you and your king to a nation unknown to you and your ancestors. There in exile, you will worship gods of wood and stone. You will become an object of horror, ridicule, and mockery among all the nations to which Yahuwah sends you. You will plant much, but harvest little, for locusts will eat your crops. You will plant a vineyard and care for them, but you will not drink the wine or eat the grapes, for worms will destroy the vines. You will grow olive trees throughout your land, but you will never use the olive oil, for the fruit will drop before it ripens. You will have sons and daughters, but you will lose them, for they will be led away into captivity. Swarms of insects will destroy your trees and crops. The foreigners living among you will become stronger and stronger, while you become weaker and weaker. They will lend money to you, but you will not lend to them. They will be the head, and you will be the tail. Think about it, how hard it is for Black folk to get loans. I'm just talking about here in America and stuff. Everybody can seem to, I'm not saying in recent days, because in recent days we see Yahuwah waking us up. The 400 years of captivity has ended. He's restoring things to us. It is little by little different things we can see that the tables are beginning to turn and work in our favor if you have eyes to see what's really going on, right? The foreigners living among you will become stronger and stronger, while you become weaker and weaker. They will lend money to you, but you will not lend to them. They will be the head, and you will be the tail. If you refuse to listen to Yahuwah and obey the commands and decrees he has given you, all these curses will pursue you and overtake you until you are destroyed. These horrors will serve as a sign and warning among you and your descendants forever. If you do not serve Yahuwah your God with joy and enthusiasm for the abundant benefits you have received, you will serve your enemies, whom Yahuwah will send against you. whom Yahuwah will send against you, whom Yahuwah will send against you. You will be left hungry, thirsty, naked, and lacking in everything. Yahuwah will put an iron yoke on your neck, oppressing you harshly until he has destroyed you. Who else has walked around here in stocks and chains? Literally. Yahuwah will bring a distant nation against you from the end of the earth, and it will swoop down on you like a vulture. It is a nation whose language you do not understand, a fierce and heartless nation that shows no respect for the old and no pity for the young. Think about it. They could care less about our people. Just think about some of the harsh things that were done to our ancestors, right? They could care less about our old people, man, woman, boy, girl, child, adult, old and young, feeding our babies to alligators. Call it alligator bait. Come on. There's nobody else on the earth that these words are indelibly imprinted upon our souls except for us, right? Yahuwah will bring a distant nation against you from the end of the earth, and it will swoop down on you like a vulture. It is a nation whose language you do not understand, a fierce and heartless nation that shows no respect for the old and no pity for the young. Its armies will devour your livestock and crops, and you will be destroyed. They will leave you no grain, new wine, olive oil, calves, or lambs, and you will starve to death. They will attack your cities until all the fortified walls in your land, the walls you trusted to protect you, are knocked down. They will attack all the towns in the land Yahuwah, your God, has given you. The siege and terrible distress of the enemy's attack will be so severe that you will eat the flesh of your own sons and daughters, whom Yahuwah has given you. The most tender-hearted man among you will have no compassion for his own brother, his beloved wife, and his surviving children. He will refuse to share with them the flesh he is devouring, the flesh of one of his own children, because he has nothing else to eat during the siege and terrible distress that your enemies will inflict on all your towns. And I thank Yahuwah that I was born in the generation that I was born in, that I did not have to experience some of these harsher things that our ancestors did, right? The most tender and delicate woman among you, so delicate she would not so much as touch the ground with her foot, will be selfish towards the husband she loves and toward her own son or daughter. She will hide from them the afterbirth and the new baby she has born so that she herself can secretly eat them. She will have nothing else to eat during the siege and terrible distress that your enemy will inflict on all your towns. If you refuse to obey all the words of instruction that are written in this book, and if you do not fear the glorious and awesome name of Yahuwah your God, then Yahuwah will overwhelm you and your children with indescribable plagues. These things that happen to us are indescribable. Yahuwah will afflict you with every sickness and plague there is. Hold on, I skipped the whole sentence. Let me go back up. 58. If you refuse to obey all the words of instruction that are written in this book, and if you do not fear the glorious and awesome name of Yahuwah your God, then Yahuwah will overwhelm you and your children with indescribable plagues. These plagues will be intense and without relief, making you miserable and unbearably sick. He will afflict you with all the diseases of Egypt that you feared so much, and you will have no relief. Yahuwah will afflict you with every sickness and plague there is, even those not mentioned in this book of instruction, until you are destroyed. Though you become as numerous as the stars in the sky, few of you will be left because you would not listen to Yahuwah your God. Just as Yahuwah has found great pleasure in causing you to prosper and multiply, Yahuwah will find pleasure in destroying you. You will be torn from the land you are about to occupy and enter. For Yahuwah will scatter you among all the nations from one end of the earth to the other. There you will worship foreign gods that neither you nor your ancestors have known, gods made of wood and stone. There among those nations you will find no peace. or place to rest. Yahuwah will cause your heart to tremble, your eyesight to fail, your soul to despair. Your life will constantly hang in the balance. You will live night and day in fear, unsure if you will survive. In the morning, you will say, if it were only night. In the evening, you will say, if it were only morning. For you will be terrified by the awful horrors you see all around you. Then Yahuwah will send you back to Egypt in ships to a destination I promise you will never see again. There you will offer to sell yourselves to your enemies as slaves, but no one will buy you. Now let's just take a moment and just look at something, right? Now we know that Egypt was utterly destroyed, right? And he was giving them this message after he had already delivered them out of the destroyed Egypt. And them out of Egypt, they didn't leave Egypt with ships. They walked on foot to the wilderness, right? They walked on foot to the wilderness. And the only source of water that they had was the Sea of Reeds, the Red Sea that Yahuwah had Moses to split, right? But he said Yahuwah would send them back in ships, not to this place, not to this place, not to this place, but it's talking about another place who Yahuwah also called Egypt. Although it's not called Egypt today, but we can clearly tell this is the place he was referring to, right? And although we have been scattered to the four corners of the earth, and a lot of places where we have been scattered can be considered an Egypt, right? Because of the things that were happening. But here, this is talking about, I'm going to send you back into bondage. And specifically, although it wasn't named America then, when he said Egypt here, he was talking about America, the daughter of the great whore, the belly of the beast, right? Here, where we live in America, right? That's what he's talking about. Because if you go back and you read some of these things, none of these things align with any of the other countries than what it does here and what happened during the transatlantic slave trade. And we can also look at how the Spanish Inquisition led up to that too, because a lot of our people were led into the captivity down into South America, into some of the other places in Oceania and the other places other than America, right? There were different routes and different trade lines and stuff where they ship cargo and they ship our family all across the world, right? Read, hold on, he said. Right. Verse 68, then Yahuwah will send you back to Egypt in ships to a destination I promise you would never see again. And Yahuwah doesn't break his promises. But when we violate the covenant, there's almost no recourse left for us. Judgment has to come, right? Because judgment had to come because we broke everything he said. He didn't immediately send it upon our ancestors. It was years and years and years and years. That's baby girl.
That's like some ice cream.
Okay. Wait a minute. Let me verify that with Dad, baby girl. But years of constantly us breaking the commands and then repenting. It was a constant. It was like all the captivities was leading up to the big captivity, the last big captivity, right? Because we continue to read through the books. After we finish reading Deuteronomy, we'll see how all the shenanigans began to happen again, right? Then the 10 tribes, the 10 families got scattered, right? It was a gradual breakdown, a gradual breakdown over the millennia that led up to everybody being out of the land. It's a few people left, right? A few people left, I would say, in the continent. But for the most part, we are scattered, right? The 10 tribes got scattered first, and they was over here. They got sent not only over here to the Americas, North and South America, and a couple of the other places. They are not indigenous to this land, although they think they're indigenous because they've been here so long. They was here before the Southern Kingdom got scattered over here. Before we arrived, they were here, and they had began to intermingle. They were the slaves of the natives here, and when they began to intermingle, they began to forget that they were slaves, and they thought themselves now to be indigenous and owners, but it's a few of them, even some of their descendants today, that will tell you, no, we're not indigenous. We were slaves, and we began to intermingle and marry with our captors, which then no longer made them slaves. They became owners, right? And as they they grew, they got a little sedity and forgot where they came from. Oh, we were never slaves. Sis, yes, you were. Your great granddaddy was a slave and he married Master's daughter. You know what I'm saying? So all those things. So when you hear if you look at a lot of YouTube videos or history, you will see some people saying, "Oh, we're indigenous over here. We were here. We was here when the slaves came." Like, bro, you was our cousins. That's how. When we got here, we could communicate. There's like they found Hebrew speaking folk over here. Why? Because y'all had been scattered years ago. You were scattered by the Assyrians, right? According to what scripture says, right? They were scattered first. And Judah and Benjamin got to stay in the land a little bit longer because we kept the commands a little bit longer. Although there were multiple captivities, we get going to captivity. Yahuwah forgives us. He brings us back into the land. Different messiahs and different deliverers over the time, not just Moses, but think about Nehemiah and different ones, right? We got to go back up. We got to go back into the land to the final time. Yahuwah said, you know what? I've had just about enough. That's it. I'm done. Everybody got to go. And then that's when the process began of uprooting everybody out. He said, all y'all got to go. He said, y'all doing everything I told y'all not to do. So, but let's go ahead. I don't want to harp on that too much. Oh, yeah, you're right, Yada. Josiah, Belinda Brown. Good morning, y'all. Okay, let's move to the next chapter. I don't want to harp on that too much. I think all of us here know that. So we're going to go ahead and move to Deuteronomy chapter 29. But just in case some of those who didn't know or just now waking up. But like I said, I'm going to post a couple reference videos in today's comment section on both YouTube and Facebook. So just in case you don't know, give you a little bit of history. Okay, Deuteronomy chapter 29. These are the terms of the covenant Yahuwah commanded Moses to make with the Israelites while they were in the land of Moab, in addition to the covenant he made with them at Mount Sinai. Moses summoned all the Israelites and said to them, you have seen with your own eyes everything Yahuwah did in the land of Egypt to Pharaoh and all his servants and to his whole country, all the great tests of strength, the miraculous signs, and the amazing wonders. But to this day, Yahuwah has not given you minds that understand, nor eyes that see, nor ears that hear. For 40 years I led you through the wilderness, yet your clothes and sandals did not wear out. You ate no bread and drank no wine or other alcoholic drink, but he provided for you, so you know that he is Yahuwah, your God. When we came here, King Sihon of Heshbon and King Og of Bashan came out to fight against us, but we defeated them. We took their land and gave it to the tribes of Reuben and Gad and to the half tribe of Manasseh as their grant of land. And that's what we read Thursday from the Legends of the Jews. It gave us deeper details. See how this is summing up the bigger story, y'all? So it's a lot of portions missing from the Bible that if we don't just read the Bible enough, like if we don't just read the one book that everybody has enough, we won't be triggered to understand something is missing, right? So we have to know there are backstories to all of these things. And I've come across a lot of these other things. Like I said, I've shared them with you in the book of King Og. I have that manuscript, right? But we read a lot of that, well, a portion of some of that. It has it in the Legends of the Jews, right? So, okay. When we came here, King Sihon of Heshbon and King Og of Bashan came out to fight against us, but we defeated them. We took their land and gave it to the tribes of Reuben and Gad and to the half tribe of Manasseh as their grant of land. Therefore, obey the terms of this covenant so that you will prosper in everything you do. All of you, tribal leaders, elders, officers, all the men of Israel are standing today in the presence of Yahuwah your God. Your little ones and your wives are with you, as well as foreigners living among you who chop your wood and carry your water. You are standing here today to enter into the covenant of Yahuwah your God. Yahuwah is making this covenant, including the curses. By entering into the covenant today, he will establish you as his people and confirm that he is your God, just as he promised you and as he swore to your ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But you are not the only ones with whom I am making this covenant with its curses. I am making this covenant both with you who stand here today in the presence of Yahuwah our God, and also with the future generations who are not standing here today. That is talking about us. With the future generations. At that time, we were the future generations. It's talking about us. And if you guys have not been into the practice of putting Yahuwah's law, statutes, and commands into practice, don't start with the sacrifices and stuff, because for real, those were not needed. Yahuwah said, I've always just required obedience, right? If we had just been obedient, not now sacrifice would have been needed, right? Right? That's what it says. That's what it constantly says. King Saul got in trouble for that. Yahuwah said, I require obedience rather than sacrifice. Think about Daniel. Think about all the other ones who had been in captivity. They did not once ever mention them having to do a sacrifice, right? They constantly, and they were in captivity under Nebuchadnezzar, King Nebuchadnezzar, and they had been promoted into the heathen kingdom as like top officials, right? We don't ever read about them doing sacrifices. We only read about them praying and talking to the Most Holy Himself, right? We hear about them praying. We hear about them fasting. That's all we hear about. Yet Yahuwah was always showing up for them, right? And think about it. Think about it here in our day. Have we had to do any kind of sacrifice with our hands? Although we're not going to get off into the sacrifice of the cross and all that stuff. Before we even knew of anything about all of that, we simply cry out to the Most Holy, right? If our hearts are pure towards Him, doesn't He always answer us? Hasn't He always answered you? Think about it. Think about it. If we're not familiar with this, things that are obvious in front of our face, we get taken off into doing things that Yahuwah never commanded us to do. He said, I don't require you to do any of these things, right? I simply require that you come to me. Matter of fact, there was no sacrifice for intentional sin, right? If we go back and we look through all of these, we will see that there was no sacrifice for intentional sin. There was pretty much either repentance or judgment, right? That's what Yahuwah says. Because everything that they did sacrifices for, it was for the sins that they may not have known. But when we read about things that were on purpose, like think about rape or premeditated murder. We just read about these the other day. What do Yahuwah say? A lot of that stuff requires death. I don't try to do no sacrifice. Ain't no forgiveness for those things. Yahuwah meets out. I mean, there's forgiveness, but Yahuwah meets out everything measure for measure. Measure for measure. Some people think they can sin and boom, I'm going to just repent and say I'm sorry. But no, still judgment is coming, right? You can go touch the hot stove. Your mama tell you don't touch the stove hot. You go touch the stove anyway. You can't just say, oops, I'm sorry now because you defied instruction. You went and touched the hot stove. You don't say ouch or forgive me, I'm sorry. And the response from you touching a burning stove, or the repercussions from you touching that hot burning stove, it doesn't go away, right? You carry that in your body. You get burn marks. If it's severe, you will get first, second, third degree burns, right? Depending on what type of stove you touch and how hot it was. You're going to bear the consequences of your sin in your body. And that's what the law teaches us, that if you purposely go and do this, you'll be forgiven. You can say, I'm sorry, but you're going to bear the consequences of your sin in your body, right? Some of it ended in death. Yahuwah said, y'all need to die. We just need one good public flogging. We'll get everybody else in line. Everybody see that I'm not playing. This is what happens when you don't keep this. The whole point of you having to die. Yes, baby girl.
See, prank me.
He didn't prank you.
Soda.
I see it. The whole point of doing this to get you right away is so the whole nation doesn't go awry. The whole nation doesn't go up in flames. And that's what happens when judgment is delayed. And a lot of people think, oh, we didn't got away with it, or we've been forgiven, or they're not. You don't get that. But immediately they think they're good. They think they can keep getting away with it. And they keep on doing it instead of thinking, oh, your grace and your mercy, thank you that I didn't die, or I didn't get what should have come to me right at that moment. We don't think that way. We just think of deeper ways we can continue being deceitful. I mean, I don't. I hope y'all don't. But y'all get the gist of what I'm saying, right? Instead of Yahuwah, his long suffering, helping us to turn us back to him, a lot of people don't look at the long suffering as his grace and him not wanting to spank that tail immediately, but that you will see the error of your ways and get back on track. Like, oh, Father, and when we do that, the repercussions are less severe. But when we completely just ignore that and keep on doing what we want to do, thinking nobody sees us, then our end is so much worse than it could have been if we would have just straightened up earlier when he was getting our attention. And Yahuwah is long suffering. He'll be long suffering till you hit the grave. You will die before your time, because you continued on. And all this time, he's giving you to repent and do what's right. Fix what you're screwing up. And a lot of times we don't get it, right? We keep missing it. All right, listen. But I said all that to say we are the future generations, right? So all these things that are here also apply to us. And if you're not in the habit of taking these things, considering your life, looking at your life, you will realize, if you begin to look at that, you will realize that these things are true today, just like they were when it was first given to our ancestors. You will begin to see some of these things in your individual life and in your individual family happening on a smaller scale. Remember, I told you the other day, if you're doing something wrong, things gonna start going wrong in your household. Just like this is, right? And you need to stop immediately, not continue going on like, oh my gosh, I got the worst of luck. Things go from bad to worse. Nope. Things is going crazy because somebody in your house is going crazy. You need to stop first, consider yourself. And if it's not you, you need to consider the other members of your household. What are y'all doing? What are you doing? Somebody is doing something, right? There's sin in the camp. There's an aching in the camp, right? We need to check and see what's going on and get it straight so we can continue moving on in the blessing, right? All right. But you are not the only ones with whom I am making this covenant with its curses. I am making this covenant both with you who stand here today in the presence of Yahuwah our God, and also with the future generations who are not standing here today. You remember how we lived in the land of Egypt and how we traveled through the lands of the enemy's nations as we left. You have seen their detestable practices and their idols made of wood, stone, silver, and gold. I am making this covenant with you so that no one among you, no man, woman, clan, or tribe, will turn away from Yahuwah our God to worship these gods of the other nations, and so that no root among you bears bitter and poisonous fruit. Those who hear the warnings of this curse should not congratulate themselves thinking, I am safe, even though I am following the desires of my own stubborn heart. This would lead you to utter ruin. Yahuwah would never pardon such people. Instead, his anger and jealousy will burn against them. All the curses written in this book will come down on them, and Yahuwah will erase their names from under heaven. Yahuwah will separate them from all the tribes of Israel to pour out on them all the curses of the covenant recorded in this book of instruction. Then the generations to come, both your own descendants and the foreigners who come from distant lands will see the devastation of the lands and the diseases Yahuwah inflicts on it. They will exclaim, the whole land is devastated by sulfur and salt. It is a wasteland with nothing planted and nothing growing, not even a blade of grass. It is like the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah, Admah and Zeboim, which Yahuwah destroyed in his intense anger. All the surrounding nations will ask, why has Yahuwah done this to this land? Why was he so angry? And the answer will be, this happened because the people of the land abandoned the covenant that Yahuwah, the God of their ancestors, made with them when he brought them out of the land of Egypt. Yes.
I wake up first.
Yes, baby girl, you woke up first. My kids, they got this thing. They fight over who woke up first.
No, I wake up first.
Okay, chill. We'll talk about this in a minute, okay? Like, you woke up first and came downstairs, but you woke up first and came and got to bed with me and Dad. So technically, baby girl woke up first.
Mom, she woke up in the middle of the night.
Okay, yes, Isaiah, you're right. Okay, both of y'all, go on back in there, please. Give me a few moments.
I wake up first.
Yeah, go first.
No, you feed me ice cream too.
In a minute, baby girl. And the answer will be, this happened because the people of the land abandoned the covenant of Yahuwah, the God of their ancestors, made with them when he brought them out of the land of Egypt. Instead, they turned away to serve and worship gods that they had not known before, gods that were not from Yahuwah. This is why Yahuwah's anger has burned against this land, bringing down on it every curse recorded in this book. In great anger and fury, Yahuwah uprooted his people from their land and banished them to another land where they still live today. Yahuwah, our God, has secrets known to no one. We are not accountable for them, but we and our children are accountable forever for all that he has revealed to us, so that we may obey all the terms of these instructions. Read that again. Yahuwah, our God, has secrets known to no one. We are not accountable for them, but we and our children are accountable forever for all that he has revealed unto us, so that we may obey all the terms of these instructions. And that's pretty much self-explanatory. Like, he's not going to hold us accountable for those things, those secrets that no one knows. But everything that he has revealed to us, we are accountable forever for every single one of those things. Like those people say, oh, don't tell me. Oh, but somebody in your generation knew that. So you're going to be held accountable for that information revealed in your generation, just like you knew it yourself, but you refused. He said, my people perish for lack of knowledge, right? A lot of people like to use that all willy-nilly. But he said, my people perish for the lack of knowledge because you're ignorant. You're ignorant. And he said, and look, they stopped right there. They should keep reading that. He said, my people perish for the lack of knowledge. Why? Who know that next part of that verse? He said, my people perish for the lack of knowledge because they reject knowledge. Not because they don't know. He said, because they rejected the truth that would have set them free. He said, my people perish for the lack of knowledge because they reject knowledge, or because they reject me, right? Or some version says because they reject the truth. And it goes on to say, and because they rejected that truth, I'm going to reject them, and I'm going to reject their children too. Why y'all want to play with him? Why y'all want to play with him? Y'all, Deuteronomy chapter 30. In the future, when you experience all these blessings and cursings I have listed for you, and when you are living among the nations which Yahuwah your God has exiled you to, like that should have got their attention right there. Wait, what? He said, listen, in future generations, when y'all exiled to these lands we just talked about, like, I got to keep going because y'all going to violate everything we just said. Although I didn't give you the whole list of what's going to happen to you, y'all going to be there. He said, so when you get there and your children, us, the children of them, going to ask, why has all this happened? Why are we here? What is going on? Why are we being murdered in the streets? Why men keep getting murdered by cops? And think about it. Think about it. It's here, right? In the future, will you experience all these blessings and curses? Like we had the blessing first and the curses. In the future, when you experience all these blessings and the curses I have listed for you, and when you are living among the nations to which Yahuwah your God has exiled you, to take heart to all these instructions. If at that time, listen, he's talking about us. If at that time, what time? Our time, us. Those looking back, reading, why are we here? Why are we here? If we at that time, us at that time, that's us now. Looking back here, us. Listen, if at that time you and your children return to Yahuwah your God, and if you obey with all your heart and with all your soul, all the commands I have given you today, then Yahuwah your God will restore your fortunes. He will have mercy on you and gather you back from all the nations where he has scattered you. Even though you are banished to the ends of the earth, Yahuwah your God will gather you from there and bring you back again. Yahuwah your God will return you to the land that belonged to your ancestors, and you will possess that land again. And he will make you even more prosperous and numerous than your ancestors. Now, this says that because we Can we verify that we are still here in the land of our captors, right? We're still in the land of our captivity, right? I think we're still here. We're still here. We have not been regathered yet. Yahuwah is waking us up. He's dropping some gifts on his people. He's restoring our sanity of mind as we realize, oh, shoot, we're waking up out of this deep deception called Christianity, right? Worshiping another God, worshiping multiple gods. I told you I was sick for days when I realized that's what that was and how it perfectly lined up with scripture. I'm like, oh, what? I tell you, since then, as I was sick for a couple weeks, I'm just like, oh my gosh, what? Repent. I'm like, Father, I didn't know. Forgive me, calling on other names, thinking I'm talking to you. But my heart was pure, right? I wasn't doing it out of this religious thing. Like some people just go to church religiously because it's a thing, though we're supposed to do that. But their heart is really not towards the Father. It's really not towards God. It's not towards the Most High, right? It's something that they're doing. You know, those whose hearts are truly towards him, those are the ones that he's waking up bit by bit. And we don't wake up immediately. It's like some people say, it's different levels to this. Like he gives you what you can handle at that time. And as you keep moving, you keep growing and you wake up more and more until you realize that there is only one God, right? Think about when the Torah was first given, right? When it was first given, he said he went to all the other nations. He came to us last. And if we didn't accept it, he was going to turn everything back to chaos. There would be no need, no use for this earth, right? Because he wanted to give it to those of his children who love him. The righteous inherit the earth. The whole point of saying that, he said, I'm going to bring you back to this land and you are going to possess it again after I bring you back from the lands that you were exiled to. Not I'm going to take you and swoop you up to heaven like they teach us or through the rapture doctrine. That is not what Yahuwah said. They teach us everything backwards from what Yahuwah said. And if we never go back here and actually read it, that's why we're reading it every day. That's why we've been reading it every day for the last 3 years because we don't hear it enough, right? He said, at this time, as we begin to wake up and return back to him, he said, I'm going to begin to restore your fortunes, right? Even in my own life, in our own family, how he has restored some things. Granted, we were really ignorant in our early days. I'm just talking about my marriage, right? And different things as we begin to understand and just begin to turn to him. Even though we were still calling him by another name, and granted, Yahuwah, he got patience with us, right? But once I realized what his name is, I'm like, oh, forgive me for ever calling you out your name. Think Yahuwah is jealous over his name. We keep talking about, and I bring it out. He's jealous over his own name. He said, in my name, bless my people in my name. Do this in my name, not another's name. Think about how jealous you are over your own name. What if your name was John and somebody keep calling you Peter, right? Like, man, my name's John, no, and you decide, I'm gonna call you Peter, y'all get what I'm saying, right? Because sometimes, like, y'all hear me call Yah the Most Holy, like my affectionate name, or your Father. We ain't talking about that. That's a whole different thing. But when you calling somebody else out of their name, and you know that ain't their name, pretty soon you're gonna start getting pissed off, bro. I told you my name was John. Why you keep calling me Peter? Because I want to call you Peter, my G. And it's going to be a fight. And this is just not going to end well. But that was just a small little example. Yahuwah is jealous over his own name. He said, if you're going to do anything, you do it in my name. Matter of fact, all these miracles were performed through the ineffable name of the Most High, right? The ineffable name of the Most High is coded all throughout his words through the scripture, right? And if you go back to the original language, well, it's still not revealed to everybody. The ineffable name of Yahuwah is not revealed to everybody because that's what brings power. The ineffable name was engraved on Moses' rod. That's how anytime he used this, it worked wonders because the ineffable name of the Most Holy was engraved upon it, right? It was engraved upon it. Anything the Most Holy's ineffable name is engraved on, it's going to work wonders immediately. That's why it says, and all those who call upon my name shall be saved. In the Old Testament, when we read that, that's what he's talking about. That name, that ineffable name, right? Because you got to think about it. Look at today. People calling on this other name, save me and so-and-so name, but people still dying. Like something was wrong with that early on with me. I'm like, Father, we being taught this, do this in this name, and and everybody singing songs, praising the most holy in somebody else's name. Even the person that you praising, the name you worshiping, didn't he tell you worship the Father only? Yet people have made this person a God himself. We are not to be worshiping Jesus, y'all. We are supposed to be worshiping Yahuwah. Even Jesus himself said, worship the Father, right? John tells us Yahuwah said, those who keep my command, I keep them, right? That's New Testament stuff. People don't even read that either. They read what people have taught them to read, but not through their own personal study. Let Yahuwah reveal it to them, really reveal it to them, right? Because if you get erroneous teaching, you're going to read what your erroneous teaching teacher has taught you, and you're not going to be able to see the truth, right? So you got to put it all, start over, start from the beginning. Take all the teaching you got and don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Just take it all, set it right here. Start afresh. Father, okay. We're going to start from the beginning and start at Genesis. Don't start over here like they tell you, because this is the foundation. This is the authority. The authority is here, right? And everything that is here, everything else needs to be measured against this. What Yahuwah, the creator of heaven and earth, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob has said, right? That's what we need to measure everything on. So even when I started practicing this, like consciously understanding some things and consciously, okay, well, let's do this. I tell you, my prayers have never been answered more quicker than they have been in the last 3 years. As I began to do this and keep this, I'm like, oh, what? Me and my sister and my mom and some things, even with the prayer, was y'all here? Y'all was here. Even simple things, I ain't gonna say it's a simple thing, because a child was kidnapped right here when we were doing the live. The Amber Alert came through and I stopped immediately and we prayed. And I didn't do that prayer in Jesus' name. We did that in the most holy's name. And what happened? I came back and I did an update. If y'all didn't see that video, y'all go back and watch that video. What happened? An hour later, there was an update that baby was found safe and returned to his parents. And this happened 3 times in the month of February. And within an hour, all them babies were found and returned to their parents safely, right? And the kidnappers apprehended immediately, right? So when we stick to Yahuwah's commands, he begins to reveal a different level of understanding and power in actually speaking his truth, right? And then the hosts of heaven who are dispatched to us begin to work out things on our behalf, and we can see it. And when you see it, you can't unsee it, right? So I'm just telling y'all, keep y'all's commands. Let's go back here. And then we're going to hop over to the legends of the Jews. Deuteronomy 30. In the future, when you experience all these blessings and curses I have listed for you, and when you are living, y'all. And when you are living among the nations to which Yahuwah your God has exiled you, take to heart all these instructions. If at that time you and your children return to Yahuwah your God, and if you obey with all your heart and with all your soul all the commands I have given you today, then Yahuwah your God will restore your mercy on you and get back from all the nations where he has scattered you. Even though you are banished to the ends of the earth, Yahuwah your God will gather you from there and bring you back again. Yahuwah your God will return you to the land that belonged to your ancestors, and you will possess that land again. He will make you even more prosperous and numerous than your ancestors. So he said when he brings us back, he's not going to swoop us up to heaven. He's going to bring us back to the land, right? He's going to bring us back to the land, and that we're going to inherit, right? They teach us we're going to be swooped up out of here, and we're going to live with him. Yahuwah tells us we are going to be returned to the land, and he's going to come down and live among us. That's what he says. Everything in Christianity is being taught backwards from what Yahuwah has said. That's why it's so pertinent that we read this word for word daily, just like it is incumbent upon kings to handwrite a copy of the law and keep it on their person at all time and read it daily. We would do well. We should follow the example of the king, right? We should follow the example, and we should daily be in this. Because it said it will keep us. Hey, girl, what is you doing?
Well, you got a baby.
I don't have a baby in my stomach, girl. Go, get out of here.
You did.
Listen, look, she been telling her father, Let me keep reading this. Oh my gosh. Every time children say that, somebody pregnant. Look, hey, listen here. Look, children are a blessing though. So, but I'm just kind of like, you hear what your daughter just said? She said, I got a baby. And she kept doing it. I'm like, listen, we've been being careful. Listen, let me finish reading this, y'all. Yahuwah your God will change your heart and the hearts of all your descendants so that you will love him with all your heart, with all your soul, so you may live. Yahuwah your God will inflict all these curses on your enemies and on those who hate and persecute you. Then you will again obey Yahuwah and keep all his commands that I am giving you today. Yahuwah your God will then make you successful in everything you do. Ugh. He will give you many children and numerous livestock, and he will cause your fields to produce abundant levels, for Yahuwah will again delight in being good to you as he was to your ancestors. Yahuwah your God will delight in you if you obey his voice and keep the commands he decrees written in this book of instruction. And if you turn to Yahuwah your God with all your heart. Hold on, I read that sentence a little too fast. Yahuwah your God will delight in you if you obey his voice and keep the commands and decrees written in this book of instruction, and if you turn to Yahuwah your God with all your heart and soul. This is the command I am giving you today. It is not too difficult for you, and it is not beyond your reach. And this is something that is always, she prophesied Dana, maybe. Listen, I'm almost apt to believe that because I keep believing, I keep dreaming about this little boy, right? And so I was like, oh, yeah, no. So when I found out my daughter-in-law, my oldest son's daughter was pregnant, I said, oh, yeah, that's the baby I was dreaming about. But then she had a little girl. And then my husband's nephew, his wife got pregnant. I was like, oh, that's the baby I was dreaming about. And she had a little girl. I was like, who is this little boy? I keep dreaming. I've been dreaming about this little boy for the last 6 months. I'm like, somebody about to have a little boy. Knowing that Yahuwah blesses this house with men, children, right? We got 6 of them. 6 of them. Okay. All right. This command I'm giving you today is not too difficult for you. It is not beyond your reach. Like people say, if this is done away with, the law is done away, it's too hard to keep. That's why we had to have this new covenant. Absolutely not. The new covenant is the same as the old. Read what Yahuwah says the new covenant is and not what everybody else tell you it is. They tell you the new covenant is this. Yahuwah said, the covenant I gave you is not, it's right here. Deuteronomy chapter 30. Hold on, baby girl. The new covenant Yahuwah said is this. It's the same covenant, the same exact covenant that I gave to your ancestors. He said, but this time, the only thing I'm changing about this covenant, he said, I gave this covenant, the same exact covenant I gave to your ancestors that I'm giving to you, I gave to them on tablets. He said, but for you, I'm going to inscribe it on your heart. Yes.
Where's YouTube?
I deleted it. Watch kids YouTube. I'm not watching the big folk YouTube. That's the only thing that's changed. And if we understand that, we will understand, oh, shoot, we still supposed to be keeping this. Y'all better return to it. I'm telling you, when you begin keeping it according to what Yahuwah says, you begin to see things shift like in your life and in your household super quick. Like when I say super quick, I mean super quick, right? Some of the big things that happen for us, a few years ago when we started doing this, the business that we have, although we've been doing good, Yahuwah's been watching it, we secured 2 state contracts for our company, right? And another contract for $70,000 that after it got going, we decided to turn away. We turned it away because they weren't forthright in everything that was required. And we respect not going to do that because we do that. Tell your husband, don't do that. And if my husband goes and do what Yahuwah told us not to do, we're immediately affected. Oh, shoot. That's how my husband, he's like, wait a minute, what you dream now? Hold on. Tell me that dream again. Now what you say happened? So we are mindful to know that Yahuwah speaks to us in different ways. Sometimes somebody else, sometimes he'll just simply just give us a dream. And sometimes I will literally hear him. And I mostly hear him while I'm here in my kitchen washing dishes. So it's like, I'm telling you, I can sit here and tell you this all day long. But I'm telling you, y'all need to test this. Who said test me? Come on, test me, ask me. So y'all need to in your own personal life start testing this. Who is talking about, especially his people, like all that. Oh my gosh, listen here. I ain't gonna get into that. That's gonna take us all. Y'all gonna be like, what? Okay, let me finish this so we can get to the legends of the Jews, y'all. Listen, okay. This command I'm giving you today is not too difficult for you, and it is not beyond your reach. It is not kept in heaven so distant that you must ask, who will go up to heaven and bring it down so we can hear it and obey? It is not kept beyond the sea, so far away that you must ask, who will cross the sea and bring it to us so we can hear it and obey? No, the message is very close at hand. It is on your lips and in your heart so that you can obey it. Now listen, today I am giving you a choice between life and death, between prosperity and disaster. For I command you this day to love Yahuwah your God and to command, for I command you this day to love Yahuwah your God and to keep his commands, decrees, and regulations by walking in his ways. If you do this, you will live and multiply, and Yahuwah your God will bless you in the land you are about to enter and occupy. Listen, even though we're not back in our homeland, the promised land, the land that was promised to us, we're still in the land of our captivity. We begin to see these blessings begin to drop down and shower over our life, just like before he actually pulled them out of Egypt. We read it, the expanded story, the details, what happened. Yahuwah began to shower them with gifts even before he pulled them out. It's happening again, y'all, just like that. He's beginning to pour out his gifts upon us before he actually lead us back to our homeland. He said where we will live and we will multiply, right? We will be known, our land will be known for its famous produce. It will become famous amongst all the world. We ain't got to that point yet, but we getting there. Now listen, today I'm giving you a choice between life and death, between prosperity and disaster. For I command you this day to love Yahuwah your God and to keep his commands, decrees, and regulations by walking in his ways. If you do this, you will live and multiply, and Yahuwah your God will bless you in the land you are about to enter and occupy. But if your heart turns away and you refuse to listen, and if you are drawn away to serve and worship other gods, then I warn you now that you will certainly be destroyed. You will not live a long, good life in the land where you are crossing the Jordan to occupy. Today, I have given you the choice between life and death, between blessings and cursings. Now I call on heaven and earth to witness the choice you make. Oh, that you would choose life so that you and your descendants might live. You can make this choice by loving Yahuwah your God, obeying him, and committing yourself firmly to him. This is the key to your life. This is the key to your life. If you love and obey Yahuwah, you will live long in the land Yahuwah swore to give your ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. All right, y'all. So that was the reading for today from Deuteronomy. That was Deuteronomy 28, 29, and 30. So let's go ahead and hop on over here to the Legends of the Jews. What time we at? Oh my gosh. We had an hour. Okay, we're just going to read one section today. Oh my gosh, we're already at an hour and 8 minutes. Oh man, I talk too much. Okay, listen. But I be having to tell you, I be having so much to tell y'all, but I can't tell y'all everything. Okay, we in volume 3, Legends of the Jews, chapter 5. If you have the big book like I do, it is page 348. If you have the smaller book, where the pages are smaller, which means the page numbers are different, the section is Moses' speech of admonition. And I think that's all we're gonna read today, y'all. It's Saturday. I couldn't read. Oh, I'm gonna read these 2 sections because it ends chapter 5 and chapter 6 starts tomorrow. Okay, so we'll read these 2 sections today and we'll be finished with chapter 5. So that's cool. Yes, Yahuwah be praised, Kenneth. All right. As Abraham before his death spoke to his son Isaac, he to his son Jacob, and Jacob in turn to his sons, words admonishing them to walk in the ways of Yahuwah, so did Moses also not depart from this world without previously calling Israel to account for their sins and admonishing them to observe the commandments of Yahuwah. Just like we read over here in Deuteronomy, right? Moses' speech of admonition had a greater effect than the revelation of the Decalogue upon Mount Sinai. For whereas Israel, shortly after they had said on Sinai, we shall do according to as we have heard, transgressed by worshiping the golden calf. Moses' words of admonition had left a powerful impression upon them, and he restored them to Yahuwah and the Torah. Yahuwah therefore said, as a reward to thee, because thy words of exhortation have brought Israel to follow me, I shall designate these words as thine, even though thou didst speak them only in execution of my command, right? So that's why we hear it, and we read it in here too. Like some people call it, oh, it's the Torah of Moses. Yeah, it's the Torah of Moses. Yahuwah said, I'm going to give this distinction to you. And people are going to call the Torah of Moses, even though it's my instruction that I gave directly to you and all of Israel. I'm going to let it be named after you, Moses. So when you hear the Torah of Moses, yes, it's still Yahuwah's Torah, the law, statutes, and commands. That was a gift Yahuwah had given to Moses because of his faithfulness and constantly speaking it to the people that they would turn back to him, right? All right, so just remember that, y'all. Watch out, boo. Yahuwah therefore said, as a reward to thee, because thy words of exhortation have brought Israel to follow me, I shall designate these words as thine, even though thou didst speak them only in execution of my command. Moses did not, however, make his speech of exhortation to the people until after the victory of Sihon and Og. For Moses thought, were I to have called them to account before these victories, they would have answered, he is trying to recall to us our sins because he is unable to lead us into the promised land against Sihon and Og, and he is seeking our sins as an excuse. But after Moses, after Moses had proven what he could do, he could safely venture to recall to the people their sins. He now assembled all classes of Israel, the nobles as well as the common people, saying to them, I will now give you a severe rebuke for your sins, and if anyone have something to offer as an excuse, let him now advance it. In this way, he shut off the possibility of their saying later on, had we heard the words of the son of Amram, we should have answered each word fourfold and fivefold. Moses now recounted the 10 temptations with which they tempted Yahuwah, how at the Red Sea they had repented, having followed him, and even turned back 3 stations on the way to Egypt. Even after the miracle that clothed the Red Sea for them, they had so little faith in Yahuwah as to say, just as at this spot we passed unharmed through the Red Sea, so also did the Egyptians in another part of it. At Marah and at Rephidim, they tried Yahuwah on the account of the dearth of water, and as they twice rebelled against Yahuwah on the account of the water, so did they on the account of the manna. They infringed upon the 2 laws Yahuwah had given them in regard to the manna, storing it from one day to the next and going to gather it on the Sabbath, although Yahuwah had strictly forbidden both. On the account of their lust for flesh, they also twice transgressed, murmuring for flesh at the same time as they received the manna, although manna completely satisfied their needs. And after Yahuwah had granted their wish and had sent them quails, they remained content for a short time only, and then again demanded quails, until Yahuwah granted them that wish also. But the worst of all, Moses told them, was the worship of the golden calf. And not only that, but again in Paran, misled the spies, ye transgressed, desiring to make an idol, and under its guidance returned to Egypt. Moses then pointed out to them that it was owing to their sin that they had strayed about in the desert for 40 years, for otherwise Yahuwah would have brought them to Palestine on the same day as he had led them out of Egypt. He not only reproached Israel with the sins they had committed against Yahuwah, but also with the evil they had worked Moses himself, mentioning how they had thrown their infants into his lap, saying, "What food hast thou for these?" On this occasion, it was evident how good and pious a nation that was before Moses, for all the sins he enumerated to them had been committed not by them, but by their fathers, all of whom had in the meantime died, yet were silent and made no answer to the severe reprimand their leader gave them. Moses did not, however, merely admonish the people to walk in the ways of Yahuwah, but he said to Israel, "I am near to death. Whosoever hath learned from me a verse, a chapter, or a law, let him come to me and learn it anew." Whereupon he repeated all the Torah, and that too in the 70 languages of the world, that not Israel alone, but all the heathen people too might hear the teachings of Yahuwah. All right, y'all, that's the last section in chapter 5. Balak, the king of Moab. Yahuwah allows nothing to stay unrewarded. Not even a respectable word remains without its reward. The older of Lot's 2 daughters had called her son that was conceived in Gib Moab by thy father, whereas the younger, for the sake of decency, called her son Ammon, son of my people, and she was rewarded for her sense of propriety. For when Moses wanted to overrun the descendants of Lot with war, Yahuwah said, "My plans differ from thine. 2 doves shall spring from this nation, the Moabite Ruth and the Ammonite Naomi. And for this reason must these 2 nations be spared." That'll teach a lesson all in itself. Like Yahuwah will spare a wicked nation because he sees down the line 2 people that are going to spring, that are going to be righteous. Remember when he annihilated Sodom and Gomorrah, and he was talking to Abraham. He said, "Listen, we're going to kill everybody." He said, "Because I have looked all the way to the end of time, and there is not one righteous person who will arise from these nations." He said, "So we're going to go ahead and end them now." Man, look, my plans differ. Yahuwah said to him, "My plans differ from thine. 2 doves shall spring from this nation, the Moabite Ruth and the Ammonite Naomi." 2 women, my G. He saved nations of wicked people for 2 women who would be born in later generations. Man, ladies, y'all better know Yahuwah cares about you more than what this world tells you that he does, and he'll come just for you when other people look at women as an afterthought. And like I told y'all before, where a place oppresses women, the spirit of the Most High is not there. Those who are teaching, because Yahuwah counts us as precious, and just as much as he does the men, he will fight for us, right? Oh, there's so many instances of women Yahuwah fighting for that has been left out of the canonized version of the Bible because of who canonized it and their purpose in canonizing everything. My G, don't get me started today. Yahuwah said to him, "My plans differ from thine. 2 doves shall spring from this nation, the Moabite Ruth and the Ammonite Naomi. And for this reason must these 2 nations be spared." The treatment Yahuwah bade Israel according to these 2 nations was not, however, uniform. In regard to Moab, Yahuwah said, "Vex not Moab, neither contend with them in battle," which portended that Israel was not to wage war against the Moabites, but that they might rob them or reduce them to servitude. In regard to the sons of Ammon, on the other hand, Yahuwah forbade Israel to show these descendants of Lot's younger daughter even the slightest sign of hostility, or in any way to alarm them, so that Israel did not even show themselves in battle array to the Ammonites. Wow. Israel's hostile, though not warlike attitude toward Moab inspired these people and their kings with great fear, so much so that they deemed to be strangers in their own land, fearing as they did that they should have to fare like the Egyptians. For the Israelites had come to Egypt as strangers, but had in time possessed themselves of the land, so that the Egyptians had to rent their dwelling places for them. Their fear was still further increased by their belief that Israel would pay no attention to Yahuwah's command to them not to wage war against Lot's descendants. This assumption of theirs was based on the fact that Israel had taken possession of the kingdoms of Sihon and Og, even though these had originally been a part of Ammon and Moab's possessions. Heshbon, Sihon's capital city, had formerly belonged to Moab, but the Amorites, thanks to Balaam and his father Beor's support, had taken from Moab these and some other regions. The Amorites had to hire these two sorcerers to curse Moab, with the result that the Moabites were miserably defeated in the war against Sihon. Woe to thee, Moab, thou art undone, the people of Chemosh. These and similar utterances were the ominous words that Balaam and his father employed against Moab. Chemosh was a black stone in the form of a woman that the Moabites worshipped as their god. As part of Moab passed into Sihon's possession, so did a part of Ammon fall into Og's hands. And because Israel had appropriated these lands, the Moabites feared that they would flinch from all their land. In great alarm, they therefore gathered together in their fastness, in which they knew themselves to be safe from Israel attacks. Their fear was in reality quite without foundation, for Israel never dreamed of transgressing Yahuwah's commands by waging war upon Lot's descendants. They might without compunction, keep the former provinces of Moab and Ammon, because they took them not from these, but from Sihon and Og, who had captured them. At this time, the king of Moab was Balak, who was formerly a vassal of Sihon, and in that capacity was known as Zer. After Sihon's death, he was chosen king, though he was not worthy of a rank so high. Favored by fortune, he received royal dignity, a position that his father had never filled. Balak was a fitting name for this king, for he set out to destroy the people of Israel. Wherefore he was also called the son of Zippor, because he flew as swiftly as a bird to curse Israel. Balak was a great magician, who employed for his sorcery the following instrument. He constructed a bird with its feet, trunk, and head of gold, its mouth of silver, and its wings of bronze, and for a tongue he supplied it with the tongue of the bird Yadua. This bird was now placed by a window where the sun shone by day and the moon by night, and there it remained for 7 days, through which burnt offerings were offered before it, and ceremonies were performed. At the end of the week, the bird's tongue would begin to move, and if pricked by a golden needle, would divulge great secrets. It was this bird that had imparted to Balak all his occult lore. One day, however, a flame that suddenly leaped up burned the wings of this bird, which greatly alarmed Balak, for he thought that Israel's proximity had destroyed his instrument of sorcery. The Moabites now perceived that Israel conquered their enemies by supernatural means, said, their leader had been bred in Midian. Let us therefore inquire of the Midianites about his characteristics. When the elders of Midian were consulted, they replied, his strength abides in his mouth. Then said the Moabites, we shall oppress him, a man whose strength lies in his mouth as well. And they determined to call upon Balaam's support. The union of Moab and the Midianites establishes the truth of the proverb. Weasel and cat had a feast of rejoicing over the flesh of the unfortunate dog, for there had always been irreconcilable enmity between Moab and Midian, but they united to bring ruin upon Israel, just as weasel and cat had united to put an end to their common enemy, dog. And that, my beautiful people, is our reading for today. I know that was real short, but it had to be short today because the reading from Deuteronomy was a little bit longer. Plus, I was adding in some my little stories and stuff as I what I've learned over the years, right? All right, shalom, Mom. All right, y'all. So that was Legends of the Jews. We started at page 348 and went all the way to the end of chapter 5, which is on page 350. And we read Deuteronomy chapter 28, 29, and 30. It is Saturday, February 27, 2021, day 88 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, and of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 757. And that is the count without the Sabbath days and the feast day Sabbath days added in. Why? Because we rest. They're counted in the count of the year, like the moon is counted in the count of the months in the year, but they're not counted in a way, right? So we don't count them in this count, but they are a part of the year. But we rest on those days and we don't do nothing. We chill out, just like Yahuwah has commanded us. So if they're actually the rest days actually would be counted, that's 52 rest days, just a regular Sabbath out the year, 52 weeks, one rest day out of the week, the Sabbath day, that's 52 automatically. 52 and 52, that's 104. That's 2 years. We're part way through year 3. So right off top, we add 104 days to the count. And then we automatically add those feast day rest days to the count, which puts us over the 104 count. So and like the true count with all the days added, we're close to 1,000 days, y'all. So, but anywho, let's go ahead and over here to the blessing so we can go ahead and get about our day today. The blessing is found where? Everybody should know by now. Numbers chapter 6, y'all. Numbers chapter 6. And what's the first 21 verses? The Nazarite vow. Anybody can take the Nazarite vow, man or woman. It's Numbers chapter 6, verses 1 through 21. Gives the details of the Nazarite vow. I think everybody should once in their life at least consider taking it. Set yourself apart to the Most High. And just dedicate yourself to him. And there's rules and regulations on what you have to follow while doing that. We can still keep that today. So consider it. But the blessing is found at the very next verse, of verse 22, all the way to the end of the chapter, verse 27. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying, On this wise you shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, May Yahuwah bless us and keep us. May Yahuwah make his face to shine upon us and be gracious unto us. May Yahuwah lift up his countenance upon us and give us peace. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. All right, beautiful people. That is it for today. Double check comments real quick. Oh, then he made a comment real early. Hold on. What about the other countries where we are scattered? How do we know it's only America? How do they interpret it if they're reading? It's not only America. We were scattered to more than America. We're in the count, but it's not the only one. But America, I believe, is the daughter of the great whore, right? Inside the belly of the beast, along with the other surrounding nations who she's in cahoots with. But America kind of leads the charge in all of the deception, right? So you got to look at the UK, shucks, everywhere, all of them are in cahoots. Think about France. If y'all watch the news, if you watch the news and you just do like a little bit of research, I have something. What did I do with it? I got so many notes saved. Okay, so here, a good thing I posted a while ago with the continent of Africa, right? Because we know the entire continent, not the little sliver of what they call Israel. That's not the Holy Land. And then they kind of cut it off with the Suez Canal. While I was in my military days, I went through the Suez because I've seen this with my own eyes, right? It's a man-made canal that they use to kind of cut off Israel from the rest of the continent of Africa, but it's still Africa. It don't matter. Yahuwah sees the original borders of all the lands, right? So, but there is a map that I shared. I'm going to find it today. But if you look at that map where it's been cut up and sliced and diced and borders. Yes, baby girl.
You can get this stuff up.
Wait a minute. Let's talk about that in a minute. Look, I'm still live. Hold on. Pause. Take that in there. We'll talk about that in a second. Thank you, Isaiah.
Mom, Bella
Listen.
was that dress.
Oh.
Bella was that. I want this and I want
Okay, we'll talk about that in a minute. Listen. So if you look at how they divided up Africa, they have it to where, and I'm not sure who did it, but they did a really good job. And they have it all divided up, and they have like the resource, all the different resources that are found in Africa, right? Like cotton here, peanuts here, or coffee here, or gold here, silver here. They have it all divided up. But through the Berlin Conference, that's what it's talking about. Those who have divided my land, it's them. They're always in the hoops. The Berlin Conference, all of them. And they divided up Africa, and they began to take little pieces of it. Everybody loves Africa, but they teach Africa's sons and daughters to hate her. Like we travel everywhere else except for going back to where we descend from, right? From the motherland. So, and matter of fact, they make it so hard for us to get there. We can go to anywhere other than Africa without all this rigmarole, right? So even that there is a telltale sign. But they have it all divided up, and they've dispersed it in all the nations. France has taken this piece, and China has this piece. China, let's not start with them. In America, everybody. I'm gonna pull it up. I'm not sure if I can. I'm gonna figure out a way to post it here to YouTube. Maybe I'm gonna have to put a link to my Facebook post here in YouTube. That's what I do, because I don't have enough subscribers over here on Facebook to do like the posts, like people be doing a regular post. I'm like, how people doing posts? I'm like, they won't be getting no posts. I'm gonna have to figure out another way. I might have to do like a video, like with a still picture with the stuff showing it. I hadn't even thought about that. That's a way I can share some of the photos and stuff. But for now, I'm going to just put a link to the Facebook post and share it in the comment section over here on YouTube and in the description so you can see it. But most of you probably already seen it already, but it's a couple different ones. And it tells you what countries have been pulling out resources and what belongs to who now. It don't really belong to them. Yahuwah is going to return all the borders back to their original state, right? So, but it's not just America. America just kind of, and I wouldn't say, well, okay. So we know America is like the daughter. Like America was created because the whole, which one to call it? The uproar over in England and stuff, right? And it broke off. And you got the whole thing with the taxes and the tea and all that stuff, and they broke off and they want to do their own thing. But still, I've even looked through documents from my family history where I was doing some ancestry stuff, and I was like, what the stuff got? I said, what the stuff got like England on it? And that I didn't understand at the time a few years ago when I was doing it, until I started understanding some more of this stuff in the Bible. I was like, wait a minute, the Bible is like real for real. It's like a map. It's the genealogies. That's why it's so important to different things, because it has little things, and it's a lot of stuff, y'all. But that'll have to be another whole video and teaching itself. But it's enough people who have done enough of this where I'll share it, and I don't have to like reteach. I may mention some things, but it's a lot of research and stuff that has gone into it. And even with the research, with pieces that didn't quite understand, who are actually revealing it to you, bring your attention. Look over here. Here. I was like, oh, shoot. So this is what the Bible meant when I was talking about this? So Yahuwah add a little bit of his super on top of my natural and help bring the pieces together, So, but yeah, Dana said, what about, I read it already. What about the other countries where we are scattered? How do we know it's only America? How do they interpret it if they're reading it? Like, if they're reading it appropriately, like, here's what I've noticed. Based on a few people that I've seen popping up, like Yahuwah is revealing the same thing to his people for the most part, right? Who we are, where we descend from, information is starting to line up. Everybody kind of getting on the same page. I'm watching this. I see one pastor, he's teaching about it. He's restoring to us how to like tell time appropriately, how he set the clock in the sky with the sun and the moon, and how to tell that, because we're going to need to know that, right? I mean, everybody may not need to know that, but it'll get us back on the path for other missing pieces for it to all line up, right? So all those things I'm noticing, it's like becoming like almost a consensus, so to speak. Like I'm like, wait a minute, I ain't gonna say everybody, because everybody's message ain't lining up. You just got some people just still rolling vagabonds out here and on the internet and YouTube doing crazy videos. I'm like, what? I had to unsubscribe to some of our people. Because it's like, yeah, That's not right. That's not right. There's still a lot of mixture there, not that we all have it right, but I can tell people that I can see that are growing. I can clearly tell that with some people, although they may still be using the name JC or whatever. But I can see the transition and how they're beginning to, and they're sharing the information with their people, their congregational listeners or whatever. But yeah, but Dana, if you're his people, and even those who aren't his people who are wanting to align and stand with us, Yahuwah is revealing that truth. So, but it's not just only America. You see a lot of people from South America, at least I have from what I've been looking at, and all over England, even some who in Africa, and but yeah, they'll. I trust Yahuwah that they'll get the proper interpretation if they're searching after Yahuwah, right? Like, cause he's the only one that can bring that, So, but yeah, I think that's it. That was the only question I see over here on Facebook. I was scrolling up. Okay, yeah. All right. And nothing over here on YouTube. But anyway, y'all, that's it for today. Thank y'all for hanging out with me today while I stand my post and while we read the words of the Most High, the Most Holy, Yahuwah himself. So we learn about our history and learn how to turn back to the Most High, right? So that's it, y'all. I ain't got nothing else. Anybody else got no questions? We're about to get out of here. Oops. I swiped it over. I mean to. All right, y'all, that's it. We out of here. Love y'all. See y'all tomorrow, 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Peace.